Today we're going to be talking about a 2-bucket wash system. Is it hype? Is it a ploy to sell more buckets? Or is there some truth in it? So let's take a look. So here we've got the 2 buckets with the wash bucket on the left and the rinse bucket on the right. You'll also notice that the buckets are the Bowden zone, but I don't think it matters which bucket and wash guard you use. Inside you'll also notice there are some wash guards or dirt guards. I think Bowden Zone calls them the Great Barrier thingy. So you can see, like I said, the wash bucket is on the left, so that had the detergent in, and the rinse bucket is on the right. That was just clean water. You can see just by the colour of the water. Mind you, both buckets are white, so the wash guard in the rinse bucket on the right is actually like a bluey, blue-grey sort of colour, sky colour. So you can tell just by the colour of the water there appears to be a difference. But what I want to do is I want to tip out the water gradually and see if there's actually any sediment in the bottom of the buckets that is below the wash guards that could have potentially scratched or provided some swirl marks on our car. So let's take a look. So we're going to start with our wash bucket first, and I'm going to tip it out so you can hopefully see the water coming out, and then potentially if there's anything left in the bottom of the bucket. So start tipping it out. I'm being careful to not agitate the water inside the bucket too much, because if there is any residue or sediment rather in the bottom of the bucket, we want to be able to see that as clearly as possible. So we'll continue tipping out our bucket. And lots of dirty water in there. I'm sure this is lots of fun watching, so maybe I'll edit this part out. Oh, we're nearly there, so it doesn't matter really. So you can see that is most of the water out. Okay, so now we've got some really dirty water coming out. That's a bit of fluff from the brand new Shag-tastic mitt. Okay, so what I'll do is I'll take the dirt guard out. Just to get out. The Great Barrier thingy that they refer to it as, Bowden Zone refer to it as. And I'll have a look in the bucket there. Don't know if you can see, there's a lot of dirty water. Maybe I'll just tip some of that out. So have a look in there. Not sure if the camera can pick that up, but down the bottom of the bucket there, there is clearly some sediment. Sort of, can you see this? All around there. Some bigger pieces there. And what's this? This looks like maybe some paint, perhaps. Don't really know what that is, but it's got a straight edge to it. So, but nonetheless, that could have ended up on our wash mitt and then scratched the car. So now you can see clearly there is sediment in the bottom there. Right, so now we'll do the rinse bucket. So now it's time to do the rinse bucket. Once again, trying to not agitate the bucket too much, so we see if there's any sediment in the bottom of the bucket. Now don't forget, this is the rinse bucket, and immediately I can see lots of black fibres in the water coming out, which are actually floating on the surface. I don't know what that's from, because nothing that I used to wash the car was actually black, so I don't know where those fibres have come from. But anyway, this is probably boring to watch, so I might edit some of it out. So you can, no, you probably can't see, but there's a whole lot of gunk kind of floating on on the surface, which makes me kind of think it's some sort of oil or grease residue. It's clearly floating on the surface coming out of the bucket. And look at that. Now, I don't know if you can pick that up on the camera, but there's some really, really dirty gunk coming out. There's a bit of the shagtastic fibre from the wash pillow that I used. That was brand new. So now we're getting to some really, really dirty stuff down the bottom. Have a look at that. Nearly there. So I'm being as careful as I can to not agitate the sediment if there is any. And so that's nearly all of the liquid out. Wow, look at that. Okay, so I'm going to stop it there. Check that out. If I just rotate the bucket, you can see some really black dirty water coming out, and check out all of that sediment in there. You see that? If I try to drain some of this water out. Okay. Have a look in the bottom of the bucket there. I mean, look at all this stuff here. Look at that. You know, that is quite gritty. It's, you can liken it to some extremely fine sand. It's not sand, it's obviously, you know, dirt and God knows what particles, but so some of the particles in here are the size of a grain of, like, you know, grains of sand, and some of them are actually really, really, really fine sand. I'm not sure if you can see that on my finger there. So just for comparison, this is our rinse bucket rather that you're looking at. This is our wash bucket, which is obviously much cleaner than the rinse bucket. And just for the sake of the video, this is the dirt guard. There's I don't see any dirt particles or anything to report on the dirt guard itself. So that was the one in the wash bucket. The one in the rinse bucket certainly does have some sediment and grime just over there, as you can probably see, and on the top. So, if there ever was a myth about the hype of a 2-bucket wash, I think it's fair to say that the myth has now been well and truly busted. So the wash bucket is on the left and the rinse bucket is on the right. In both buckets there is clearly sediment in the bottom of the bucket, but particularly in the rinse bucket, I mean, that is just really nasty stuff. So the car that I actually washed, which I'll show you some footage of here, is a Ford Ranger, which is literally brand new. It's the very first wash that it's had from the showroom, and all I can say is thank heavens that I used the 2-bucket wash method, because that gunk in there would have scratched up my brand new car. So there you go, folks. 2-bucket car wash system, myth busted. It does work. 4, 3, 2, stealth.